So how does a physician go about getting this covered for their patients? Or what's the process of that?
That's a very good question, because everything is coverage, as you know, particularly in home care.
Yes.
And so at the moment we have coverage in the Veterans Administration and the federal government through our federal supply schedule contract. So any veterans facility or VA choice patient or patient on home, being seen outside of the VA in the community care programs is covered there. So the physician could order it and it will be paid for and provided by us on contract. Indian Health Services, federal government facilities are covered as well. We also have coverage in New York State Medicaid, so that sector covers it. So people don't realize, I don't think that Medicaid has expanded enormously as part of the Affordable Care Act, and in New York alone there's over 7 million people on Medicaid. Wow. So we're covered there at the moment. Now, with our latest state-of-the-art study being published, we're now in the process of soliciting broader coverage through Medicare and the private insurers and everything else. So we expect over the coming year and 2 years, we will sequentially hopefully get more and more coverage, so it will be available for everyone.
I hope so, because I think everyone needs that, especially diabetic foot wounds are difficult. So having this product available would be just really beneficial to everyone.
And what's nice about it, we're not asking you to change your practice. Do the good things that you should be doing, good debridement, good offloading, appropriate treatments in clinic, and you can add this on top on wounds that aren't responding appropriately, which there are many of, and we get them to healing, and they seem, because of the way they heal with oxygen, to stay healed longer, and the science proves that now. We have the same evidence also in venous ulcers. So another area, because of our therapy delivers non-contact compression, it helps reduce that edema that's present, which is a major reason venous ulcers don't heal. So we see the same sort of outcomes there as well.
That's amazing. So with the venous ulcers, there's a level of compression that definitely needs to happen.
Yes.
With you saying that the dressings can be intact with that, like you're saying a Pro 4 wrap.
Absolutely.
Or an Una boot could be intact, and you can still.
And we do the therapy, and that's key, because unlike diabetic ulcer patients, where quite commonly they change their dressings at home, and they tend to be simple, most venous ulcer patients with compression dressings don't, because there's a risk of dangerously applying it, inappropriately. So if you had a therapy where they had to replace those dressings, it would probably be difficult. You'd have to send the nurse out, wouldn't it? In our case, whether it's a Pro 4 or a Coban or any compression dressing or an Una boot even, those dressings are not gas permeable. They're not designed to block gas, so they're completely gas permeable. So we do the therapy over those dressings. So it's so easy for the patients.
That is so perfect.
And even the diabetic foot patients, if they have simple dressings, they leave them in place. They don't have to remove them.
Well, I'm a fan of your product.
Thank you.
I think I will try to use it if I can. I hope the insurances kind of get on board with it.
And I think they will. I think from our perspective is the evidence bar for coverage has been pushed higher and higher over the years. And in wound care, evidence hasn't always been the strongest. So we just completed a multi-center, multinational, double-blinded, placebo-controlled study, the highest level evidence you can do, with incredible outcomes. There's top people around the world, published in the top peer-reviewed journal in the space, Diabetes Care, the highest impact factor in the diabetes space. So we've done the highest level evidence. But what I think is also exciting is we have lots and lots of health economic data. We've treated over 20,000 patients in the US already, and we have a lot of data on that. So we're working now to publish a big health economic study that takes that prospective data, articulates those outcomes with the registry data to project what the potential benefits are, then reduction of amputations, hospitalizations. Because really from a payer point of view, if we can demonstrate not only do we have strong efficacy that you should want to use it for the ethical reasons, but the impact of that is also a quality of life and a cost saving benefit. I mean, the reality is we have to address both.
Absolutely.
And I think this therapy has that benefit, and it's a therapy the patients do at home, which is the lowest cost, the best compliance.
And I think the access is one of the main reasons why people are not healing their wounds.
No, absolutely.
Missed appointments for wound care happen all the time. Missed appointments for podiatry, can't get a ride, can't move around. Like, if you just stay at home and heal it, you're good.
Yeah, and that, I mean, when we go into patients' homes, when we came up with this therapy, they said 5 days a week, 90 minutes, no one will ever use it. We said, well, hold on, because my background before wound care was in respiratory care, and there's a lot of issue with patients using respiratory products for sleep apnea. Compliance is a big issue. So what we found, though, is we find not just in our studies where we had, we mandated and we had wonderful compliance, but in the real world, in the 20,000 patients we treated, our compliance is really high. Because when you go and train them, you go into homes, and we as an accredited DME, we do that. We go and train the patients how to use the therapy, and it's important that they use it, otherwise nothing works if you don't use it, and you shouldn't be paid paying for it if it's not being used either.
Right.
Or should the insurer? So we believe on both sides. So we make sure that they're compliant. It's easy to use, and as we say, we set it up in the way that where do they spend most of the time? Where's their comfy chair? Where they're sitting, or if they're bedridden, where they are, and we make it as easy as possible. And the approach of the delivery is so easy that they, what we find is they take some ownership of their condition.
Yes.
If they start seeing progress, they get motivated to want to use it.
Right. Well, it's definitely a team effort.
Yes.
The doctor and the patient have to be working together.
And we're in the patient's home. So one thing we always do is we believe that if someone orders our therapy and we set them up, and that patient comes to clinic for their wound visits, either weekly or bi-weekly, depending on their schedule, and you're not seeing as a clinician some improvement in the wound, whether it's reduction in size, volume, more granulation, less exudate, something that shows it's getting somewhat better,
right,
and they're using our therapy, we generally find that's due to one of the two reasons. One is maybe there's not adequate debridement being done, which in the US with pediatric surgeons isn't so bad because you're surgeons.
Right.
Outside the US, it's not always surgeons doing wound care.
True.
And then their scope of practice doesn't always allow them, or they just don't understand the importance of good debridement. So assuming it's not that, the other reason is they're not using it. It's compliance. It's as simple as that. And that's our job, to make sure they do what we can to make sure they're compliant. And if we go to a patient's home and for some reason we believe they won't be compliant, you go to a home, maybe they're a hoarder and you can't even get in the door. We're going to come back and we're going to tell you that, hey, we'd love this to be, but this maybe that's not a good choice for them, for you, and for the payer.
Right.
And I think if you're ethical about the way you approach that all around, then we do find that the vast majority of patients, even if you wouldn't imagine would use it, do use it. I mean, we treat patients, 20,000 patients, veterans, and New York Medicaid patients. I mean, these are areas of the population where the quality, they have a lot of issues that they're dealing with. And if we're able to get the compliance we get there, we believe there's no reason we shouldn't get it anywhere.
Exactly.
And they're so grateful, these patients. And you see it in the patients you treat. When you can make a difference and save a limb, save a life.
Heal the wound. They're so grateful.
They are, and they take that. And I mean, to me, it amazes me when you look at diabetic foot ulcers. The studies are out there that the one thing that is you can correlate with mortality in diabetic foot ulcers is a degree of clinical depression.
This is true,
And I mean, and it's one thing we don't do much about.
6 months, 8 months of a wound, and they just be enough to depress anybody.
They do, and then if they start losing, limbs, and they know that that's their, they lose their mobility, then their physical health goes down, and it really is. It's horrible for them. So if you can do something to heal a wound, save a limb, and the saying, save a limb, save a life. It's true,
absolutely,
because they're less depressed, they mobilize more, and all of those things add to their quality of life and life expectancy. So.
Well, thank you so much for speaking with me. Again, this is Mike Griffith. Excellent product. I think that all podiatrists should definitely consider this product for their diabetic foot wounds. So again, thank you for speaking with me.
Pleasure.
All right.